There are some checks in Prowler that they may find PIIs, because if you have passwords or emails or stuff like that in places that you shouldn't, Prowler is going to tell you.
Like in SharePoint.
Like in SharePoint, we don't have SharePoint. We do have SharePoint checks, but not for data, not for data in SharePoint. But for example, in an S3, in CloudWatch logs, you may have, or in the topic of an SNS, you may have an email address in the SNS topic, right? Things like that, or even password. But the passwords that we find in Lambda functions, in variables, stuff are not shown in the finding. But we tell you, hey, you have an issue here, but we don't tell the password. But if you have resource names with PII, of course, we are going to tell you that that resource is misconfigured. So that is good because you are going to detect it, okay? So here is how to do it with Azure, very straightforward as well. And to run it from the CLI, you can run it with credentials in multiple places, or even opening the browser, and this is going to give you the browser credentials inherit to the CLI, and you can go straight from there. Okay. For Google Cloud, it's pretty straightforward as well. If you are familiar with Google Cloud, it's all about to init the G Cloud CLI to get the credentials, and then you can run Prowler telling where the credentials file is if you have to. And by default, Prowler goes through all the projects. If you have but you can specify specific projects, okay? That is good because it makes life easier for the first run, right? For Kubernetes, you can do it in cluster or outside the cluster. So this is good because we support local Kubernetes and any flavor of Kubernetes that you have in any cloud, AKS, EKS, and GKS, right? Depends on what you have. In our documentation, we tell you, use this configuration or that configuration. In some cases, you can copy and paste the Kubernetes config file, and that's all, with the tokens. Right? It depends on your use case, but we support multiple ways to authenticate. Okay, and for Microsoft 365, it's kind of similar to Azure, right? Environment variables, etc. So please raise your hand if you are using Microsoft 365 here. Okay, good. So hopefully you guys can give us feedback because it's a kind of recent support for us, and we have a very good number of checks, pretty much all the checks for CIS benchmarks, but I'm adding more. Okay. And this is very, very new. Our GitHub support has a month or so, and this is to support GitHub repositories and organizations' best practices. Okay, that you need to have the security MD, the protection of the master of the main branch, all the basics, but the good basics, right? Yep. The question is if Prowler scans for exposure of credentials. So we do that as well. So we have more than 1,000 controls. The good thing is you can see all that stuff here. Let me do this up here. In Prowler Hub. So Prowler Hub is our database of checks. See, this is the same that you can get from the repository, but nicely to see and to consume. So you can go through all the remediation, the detection and remediation checks. See, for AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, GitHub. For example, for GitHub, this is all what we have. See, you can see here the details as well, and here explain all the details for that. How is better, this way? This way probably. And the CLI, if you want to run just one check, the web UI, what you have to do, the references, see? And also, you can see here how we write those checks and learn how to create your own. These are the metadata file and the code itself. It's very easy to learn what we do at Prowler. And if you are Prowler Cloud customer, you can run it straight away from here. Okay. Let me go back to the presentation. Let me see if this is done. Okay, yeah, this is done. So remember, we have run all the checks available for one AWS account. You can also run for the whole organization if you want. And Prowler is going to go account by account in one OU, whatever. All that stuff is in the docs. Okay. The question is how long it takes for scanning. It depends on the number of resources you have, but it is from in this account, because we have a lot of checks and all the regions, many regions enabled. Remember, by default are only 17 regions enabled for AWS. Is from in our cloud service, we have seen from 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 8 hours in some cases. Yeah. The point is there are some checks that they take a lot of time because, for example, the version for, what is the ECR versions? The container version that every time that you deploy a container, and some companies are deploying containers every minute, so Prowler looks for secrets in those versions. We need, you can skip that check, or you can configure the check to look only the last 100. But it takes. But remember, in some cases, if you are in a rush, you don't have to run everything. You can run only one service or your main checks. There is a config file to add whatever checks you want only. Or if you want to run only, let's say SOC 2, you can run the SOC 2 checks only. The point is, if you don't specify anything, we do everything for you. All the checks and all the compliance frameworks. So you can see here all the paths and see, fail, by service, etc. And you have the access of the JSON file here, the CSV, and a local HTML file that is very convenient if you have to share it through email or whatever for a quick assessment, okay? Anything that you do with Prowler, no matter the cloud provider, is going to give you exactly the same output. So this means that if you do an integration with Elasticsearch, with Kibana, with QuickSight in AWS, with Splunk, it's going to work exactly the same. Or even with a Excel spreadsheet with CSV, it's going to work the same way. Actually, in the AWS documentation, they have a spreadsheet template. If you look AWS Prowler documentation, you're going to find a template that you import the CSV, and you get a nice dashboard in Excel, but it works well. See, and here for compliance, you have the results for all the compliance framework that we support. See, everything is here. And in compliance directory, oops, you can see all the CSVs for that. And the way to get this the access to this is Prowler dashboard. And you can see everything in a local dashboard that is running in the port 1666. See? This is loading the CSV files, and you get everything here, see? Again, this is something quick. If you are in local, you don't want to go anywhere else, and it helps a lot. So you see here the latest scans, all the files that you have, and you can go here to compliance. And see, this is today's check, today's assessment. And you can select here everything we have. Let's see the latest CIS, which is 5.0, level 2. See, you can see here everything and the results here. What is it here? Current contact details. See, whatever you need to look for. See, everything. It's very, very convenient, very easy to use. Okay, that is from the local dashboard. Again, if you use Prowler to send everything to the S3 bucket, or you are using the S3 bucket configuration in Prowler Cloud or the app, you can also pull you don't have to run Prowler. Prowler Cloud or Prowler app, the application that you will see later, is running in your own server, sending everything to a bucket. And you can configure here to pull the information from the bucket and load that information locally. So the CLI of Prowler is not only to scan, but also to see stuff, to visualize stuff while you are in an engagement or just doing the hardening, right? Because sometimes you are doing the hardening straight away from the output. Good. So let's go next. The GitHub. So this is very straightforward as well. So you can run with your personal access token, or OAuth token, or GitHub app credentials. Pretty much all the good practices that GitHub is asking you to do, right? Okay, this is uses Prowler to scan Terraform, CloudFormation, etc. Let me show you something very cool we have here now. Something that is in the last version of Prowler is this ASC, infrastructure as code. If you know, TerraGoat is a repository full of templates with a lot of mistakes. So you can run it this way. In this case, I'm running with Poetry because I'm using the GitHub code because I cloned the code. But if you have the installation, you don't have to add Poetry. With this, see, it's pulling the repo. And are you guys familiar with 3D or with Chekhov? Yeah. This is using Chekhov underneath. Okay. You don't have to install anything. We do that for you. Okay. And also, we are thinking about to add in 3D also for the container security. So there are a lot of tools embedding Prowler. Now we are embedding other tools as well. Okay.
What about TerraGrunt and modules and things like that?
We can
Traceability?
we don't do TerraGrunt, but we can take a look. Yeah. So this is it depends on the speed, but I have it here done already. See, Terraform, Dockerfile, secret, GitHub actions, and all the detailed information is exactly the same as any other thing that we scan with Prowler. Okay. You can do your own, of course, your own repositories. In this case, we do select no auth because it's GitHub are public repositories. Okay. See, this is successful. And now it is doing the assessment, and there we go. So let me open this, for example. Oh, no. 1 second. Let me open this here. See, if you are familiar with the HTML report in Prowler, this is the also same. You can filter by fail, for example, Docker files, or let me show me the secrets. And here we can see all the fails for secrets, access keys in different places. See the file and the lines of the file where you can have this. So the point is we are shifting a little bit left for you. If you're familiar with Prowler that scans in runtime, now you can also use Prowler before running runtime. And from either from the CLI or the API, you can automate your pipelines to check for security even before you deploy software, deploy infrastructure, right? You can do that. The question is how to automate this scan, right? The CLI, you can automate that in the CLI, of course, but we do have the application, the whole platform that you are going to see now, to do it. So the application does it for you every 24 hours, and you can go through the dashboards and the compliance and the resource view inventory to see everything. So no, it works that way. Yeah. You will see now. Okay. See everything that you can do with infrastructure as code. It works with a local repository or with an online repository. And yeah, now we have here a section of many different basic stuff, but because you can say, okay, show me only the fails with critical severity. when you do a scan, right? Or whatever other severity, and by service, by compliance framework, see? By project, by Azure subscription, by Kubernetes context. You can filter out whatever you are looking for, okay? Or even by regions, as I mentioned, and all flags that you can see here are short and long flags.
And that makes you getting the score.
Yep.
That score.
The score is only for the filters that you apply.
Yep.
Yep. The question is when you run, which results you get and scoring you get. It's only the resources and the score based on the findings you have. Okay. So for example, if you run these two projects in Google Cloud, you are going to get only for that project and the score for those two projects. In some cases, you may have 200 projects. Of course, Prowler is going to do it, but it's going to take a long, right? The same for subscriptions. Yep, you can scan based on tags. Yep. Scan resources or account or use, for example, for AWS in AWS organizations. So see, it's only specific checks or running from Docker, the CLI from a Docker container as well. You can use it as well. This is what we have seen now, the outputs. So let me show you here. See, we have an output folder. Every time that you run Prowler from the CLI, you get whatever you get, regardless the cloud provider, plus the compliance folder. In the compliance folder is everything that you need to know about the compliance for whatever you scan. It's very easy. It's Prowler output, the provider, and the provider ID. Okay? And this is our CSV. It's a long CSV because it has a lot of information, but it's good because, as I said, for your automation, reporting, integrations, it's very actually, our local dashboards are using straight away with pandas. It has pandas, Python pandas underneath. If you are familiar with pandas, you can do pretty much anything with the CSV, okay? If it's a huge CSV, it may take longer in loading, but it's very convenient. This is what you have just seen, right? So, as I said, if you have multiple CSVs from scanning Prowler with multiple places and you put them in a central location, you can run the local dashboard and it gets the information from all of them. It's pretty cool. Okay. The JSON OCSF. Who is here familiar with OCSF? Okay, OCSF is very, very good for integrations, right? It's a new initiative, open initiative that is supported by AWS, Microsoft, Google, Splunk, all the big guys. So it's good. And that is our native format. Also, you can scan based on resources, on the services, categories, and severity as well. So let me show you this. Let me put this bigger. See, all the list categories. All the providers come with some. It's not this way. Prowler, Azure, this category. This category. Is it? 1 second. It's the copy and paste. List. See, all providers come with some categories. If you want to narrow down the assessment. In this case, Azure comes with E3, encryption, GenAI related resources and services, and Internet Expose. If the Internet Expose, you run it with Shodan, with the Shodan key, you get more information. You will surprise how many things you are in Shodan if you have a large environment in different clouds. We always recommend that if you are in a one-day auditory, because it's scary. Okay, for compliance, exactly the same. As I mentioned, If you don't specify any compliance framework, Prowler is going to give you all of them, all that we support. And if not, you can run only what is important for you. And you can create your own as well. It's very straightforward. You can see this also in Prowler Hub. Look at this. In Prowler Hub, if you come here to the main page, security compliance frameworks, see, you see everything that we support for all the frameworks. Let me see. Well, these are for AWS, for example. See, all the CIS. Let me show you. I'm sure you know about this, right? The 5.1. We include some frameworks that are not actually compliant frameworks, but we think are very helpful for people, like the onboarding security, this one, security onboarding. So this is a collection of checks that they tell you, hey, you have this properly configured for the first time before moving prod or giving that access to the users, whatever. So yeah, it's like this. See how to run it from Prowler, how to get it from the cloud, and all the details. See, with all the attributes. If you're familiar with CIS benchmarks, they give you step-by-step options to fix stuff, etc. All that is in Prowler as well. We are CIS partners, and we pull all the information from the workbench, and we inject everything into Prowler. But you can go and create your own as well, because basically all this stuff is a JSON file. Let me go down here. It's not here, one second. It's up here. See compliance metadata? You create a JSON with your own requirements, the specific attributes for those requirements, see? And the checks, see? Sometimes one requirement is one check. But for example, for PCI, that there is a requirement, encryption at rest has to be encrypted. So encryption at rest has to be enabled. Those are probably 15 checks, right? For EDS, RDS, or for whatever other cloud provider. So it's very, very easy to add your own. And you can see here everything, see, for Microsoft 365, Kubernetes, Google Cloud, GitHub. We started with CIS, only for GitHub, okay?
Would you say this is good for like custom policy as code? Like if you have internal policies and combining a bunch of standards?
That if you have only a list of checks that you want to run, you can do this very easily, or either creating your own compliance framework or creating your own group of checks in a JSON file. And then you run all of those checks, because we are having more and more checks every day. To give you an idea, last week, there was an issue with Bedrock. Remember the Bedrock exposing credential stuff? We had to have a check for that. And by default, if you don't say anything, Prowler runs that check. And you probably don't care that check because you don't use Bedrock. So you can skip it as well, okay?
I think large ones, if they fell to, and then later on there's a line and guy or something, you go back in that process.
Yeah, you can run the framework, the scan anytime and review the results anytime. Because you are going to have different CSV from the command line. All this stuff is the command line. With the app or Prowler Cloud, it is there. It is in the database. Yeah, it is in the database. You don't have to worry about it. Here, the database are CSVs or JSON files because it's one-time assessment actually. But the app gives you the storage. So we pull the data from the cloud, and those checks are in the Docker Compose is a Postgres. In our service is Aurora, because Prowler Cloud runs in AWS, regardless the cloud that you scan. Okay.
Is there a diff function?
We do have a diff between the last scan. So for example, if your scan today has 20 fails and tomorrow has six, you see the difference. You see the difference. But we are the feature of selecting this date and this date and compare, we don't have that yet. we are adding that into the UI. The-
Is that in the dashboard?
Yeah. No, that is going to be in the UI. In the UI, the web UI that you will see now. But it is not there yet. I will show also the roadmap. The roadmap is public, as you can see what are we doing now. So actually, if you come here, everything that you can see here is what we are building. Okay, the Security Hub integration is in the CLI, but this is for the web UI, for example. The API token is the same way that you get a token from GitHub to access GitHub from this. So that is going to be also available in Prowler for the API. And this is very helpful to trigger scans and to trigger and to pull results from a third-party integration. Okay, and with a secure way. And this is Lighthouse AI. I'll show you that later. This is very cool. And these are already available, but not this part, but you will see, And everything that we are doing, like compare assessment between 2 dates. See? Please go there and vote. That is going to help us prioritizing. Good. Okay, let me go next. This is all about compliance and how to create custom frameworks and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, advanced user. Security Hub integration is not in the UI yet, but it's in the CLI. And the good thing of this integration is that you can send only failed findings. Sending failed findings makes your Security Hub bill smaller and cheaper. Okay. Because Security Hub charges by findings, among other things. But from Prowler, if you disable everything in Security Hub, but only the Prowler integration is going to be sending only failed findings. And if you have automations from Security Hub, also take advantage of them. So it's very also straightforward to do. We pulled about the question is about guard duty. We pull data and configuration from guard duty, and if you have high severity or critical severity findings in guard duty, we tell you as well. Because sometimes people enable guard duty just for the sake of having that enabled, but nobody checks. And Prowler does that for you. Organizations also remember somebody asked before about the tags, organization tags. With Prowler, you can pull all the information from the accounts in organizations and give you more details from the scan, like the contact details of the account, admin or the root account email, all that stuff, tags, everything. With the proper permissions, of course, right? See how to run it. Also, if you want to run all the active accounts, a quick scan for all the active accounts. So the point is, if Prowler role is a Terraform or can be CloudFormation, and with the stack sets, for example, in AWS, you can deploy all of them. In Azure, the same. You can enable the role in all the subscriptions, right? So if you have the permissions, it's very easy. And this is for Shodan. See, Elastic IPs, control public for Azure, or compute public address Shodan. And again, if you are in a rush trying to find stuff, more doing pen testing instead of just daily job, this is your friend. Oops, yeah. I didn't remember we had this slide. So you are in a rush, run this. That's all. Internet Expose and secrets, because with secrets, sometimes people add secrets in places that shouldn't, like environment variables in instances, or environment variables in databases, etc. But also, we have found secrets in Lambda code or in user data. In the user data file, yep.
So if I'm sending this out as a Docker stack, we need to stand up on our organization that we're on. Can we have multiple
one stack, what do you mean by one stack?
Like if I'm standing this up in Docker, like was static.
You can monitor everything from there.
Okay.
You don't need multiple for, not like the CLI that is running here, there. Everything is based on our SDK, no matter if you use the CLI or the application itself, because the backend is using the same code. So
Right.
you can monitor all the providers from the same place.
So one,
Like, let's say I do 365%.
Mm.
Then just, right, and then do other, but
In Microsoft 365, you have to run one each from the CLI, but from the UI, from the application itself, I started by the CLI because it's more the basics, you know? But with the CLI, you can add as many organizations or Microsoft 365 accounts as you want. I'm going like kind of quick through all this stuff because the UI is way more comprehensive now. But this is also very good for practitioners that they are doing one-time stuff, right? And the UI also helps for one-time assessments, but is way better for continuous monitoring. You don't have to be worried about running anything, okay? Okay, this is the mute list. Very, very important. Again, you are scanning a lot of things and Prowler is going to find a lot of things and make a lot of noise, right? Good. How to fix that? By default, we bring you the different default configurations, like for example, muting everything that is AWS control tower, because comes with some security, low severity, medium severity findings. That is something that you cannot fix and it's not very important. Nobody is going to hack you for those issues. Like encryption at rest in a Lambda, whatever, stuff like that. It's not really important. So, but you can add here, see, you can mute accounts or checks or tags, and again, Prowler is going to scan everything, but you are not going to see the failure. But the good thing is that if somebody mutes something and has an issue, an important issue, you can see that in the future as well. Of course, it's easier in the UI, you will see, because we have a checkbox to show mute or not mute findings. Okay.
mute words, certain number of days.
We are building that. That is in the roadmap. Yeah. So from the UI, you can copy and paste. You will see later this mute list file, but we are adding we started with the advanced because we want to support back the CLI configuration. We are adding that you can mute finding by finding or group of findings and say, okay, do this for 15 days because somebody is working on that, things like that. Yeah.
Pass permission to the mute list.
The role that have permissions to run scans. Yep.
Pass the same permission to edit.
Yep. Also, something that we added recently is by default, Prowler, of course, gives you a lot of insights, but there's including for those services that are not even in use. Let's say Glue. Glue, the primary workspace of Glue out of the box is not following the best practices, but it's empty. So now, or a VPC that has not properly configured the ACLs, the knuckles. So we check if those instances or VPCs or services, if they are not in use, but even if they are not pretty well configured, we don't tell you anything. But if you want to see everything, including those services, you can scan unused services as well. That is going to take longer as well. Okay. This upload to S3 bucket. We can see this later. Are we? What time is it? Okay. We have one more hour. Okay. And probably I can speak from there easier because I'm losing my back. Espérate, es que tengo aquí, espérate. Sí. Tengo que el mando. Es que el mando no va a entrar aquí ahora con esto. Bueno, déjalo. Ahora tú me lo pasas.
There, from here.
I'm going to show Prowler Hub if you want. Oh. Please going too slow now.
Fix this issue and the implementations, when you have your own implementation, your own parameters, you can change that. Override the default. Data path is basically providing specific set task and data defining task all the particular class then source of
Now fix.
Third level segregation of all obligations. So manual obligation and manual. You have to run manual, but in that everything that defines the place of saying IMDS versus one, and you want to switch and listen to all your issues and say it's going to run the product with the Therefore, close all the states and all the way to that market. And if you see that better from everything, oh, that's every except one in this case, we need to have this actually permission. Otherwise, you must not be possible. It's trying to go to the period of relegation also already. I'm giving you guys your own side and go to the okay. I'll give you first you have By default, Prowler, that's the count, say before the Prowler runs all the checks or anything. And just don't count the verification. This double check. Last 4 hours. Right, okay. You see evidences of this. For example, if you are in a, this is very helpful for incident response, right? If you are running one, you have or when you have some wait for signal, that makes it very into response, the one box, some progress is the kind of thing. Next time, you have a long account with a very long tail, but you can also configure the last hour, last 24 hours. Remember, we are also practitioners. We are not just doing the topics. This is what assessment. This is the feature that we have. We need that. Everybody may do that. AWS is this is Prowler or Prowler Cloud. This is our web UI, API, and plugin. Okay, and as I said, it's everything available. The text, so you are with Next.js. We are looking for Java developers. Anybody is interested to build?
Sorry.
Once you sign up or login, the first is they don't have to specify anything or there is not even default password name. You have to log in and you log in as a new person. With Google Cloud, you grab that subscription, receive that, I can see you sign on.
SSO.
And this is how it is so positive. We have tested with Okta, with AWS IDP, the identity manager of AWS, and pretty much, and this is standard, this kind of implementation. Okay, the first thing that you do when you create when you launch Prowler is to log in with the introduction and you get here and you have that basically AWS account, projects, subscription, projects, whatever you start. Then the rule is like.
It's better to do it, yeah.
The good thing of, in this case, I'm going to show AWS. Okay, because you can do manually, for some, if you have to sign on or you have temporary credentials, you can have them here. And Prowler is going to scan as far as it has those credentials valid. But if you don't want to do that and you want Prowler to scan everything, what's nice to do is that if the correct credentials for the human role that has all the reasons. Depends on where you run Prowler. You can run Prowler from AWS. That is the reason for it. Is to have the reason for so we go to evidence. Okay, but in this case, I want to use I'm going to show you here how to do that with
Where is this? Ah, no. Again, I'm going to use our cloud service, but it's exactly the same, okay? Prowler them. Can you see it more or less? Yes? How is better, this way or this way? This way. Dark? Okay, because we are hackers. See, remember what I mentioned about the mute findings? So you can see everything based on mute findings or without mute findings, whatever you want. And you see here all the details of the findings, etc. So let me go here to cloud providers, and you will see everything that you have added. Thank you. Everything that you have added already. If it has groups, because you can add or remove access from groups, the provider ID, whatever you want to add. So you click here, AWS. Let me add this sample account. You can add here your alias, route. And see, you have two options, assuming a role, which is the recommended option, which is going to tell you, hey, you want to authenticate product with assuming a role, you can deploy this CloudFormation quick link that is going to open directly the CloudFormation in the account. If you have a session open, it's going to open that directly to deploy the role. That's all. You don't have to do anything else. And we give you this external ID that you have to add in the CloudFormation or Terraform code, and that's all. And once you have that done, click on the next, and let me do this here. Role element, this one. Access key ID, no. Where is this? Now. No. Yeah. See this? This is very important because if you want Prowler to scan just once and never more in the future, you can click here. The point is, by default, it's better to run Prowler at least once every 24 hours because it's going to be the same. I mean, you don't pay for a scan if it's running locally. Of course, if it's running in an EC2 instance, you pay the EC2 instance cost or whatever, right? But you can run just a single scan and then running manually every time that you are doing an assessment if you want to. So I'm going to cancel here because if you come here to scan jobs, see, you can see here everything that you have plus when is next. But if there is nothing next of your provider, the cloud provider, you can say, okay, this one that is manual, I can run it. It's like assessment 2. And you run it, that's all. You wait for a little bit and you get your results. And every time that you get something in Prowler, you see here exactly the same file that you have in the outputs from the CLI. See, with the CSV, the HTML, the OCSF in a zip file. You can download it here manually or from the API as well. The API is available here. See, everything you can do from adding provider, listing all providers, creating new provider, scan, pulling the findings, integrations, tasks, stuff with our AI, everything can be done through the API. Here, what is that? A ver, ¿dónde estaba yo? Aquí. There we go. You can see specific findings per scan. Okay, let's see these findings. See, and you can see here also the muted findings and all them related to control tower. See, every finding you can filter, of course, by severity, services, resource type, cloud provider, status, the delta. You ask for the deltas. You can say, okay, tell me everything that has changed from the last scan. See, and for example, let me see S3 exposed to the internet. Okay, I have this check that we are familiar already with, right? And this bucket, no, this is the finding ID, and the bucket is here. See? This is all the information that you get, how you can fix it from the CLI, and all the resource details. This is actually in the JSON file. This is the evidence. So, for example, if you are under an auditory, the auditors usually ask for evidences. So you can copy, instead of going to the console, take the screenshot, which is something what we have to do to upload to Banta, Drata, all that stuff. You have the JSON. That is the output of this API, provider API with the evidence, okay? And it has a checksum as well. Okay. Okay, let me go back here. Now we know how to add a provider, as we mentioned, with the credentials, etc. As you,
One step per provider.
Sure.
I'm paso para cada provider.
Yep, yeah, one step per provider, of course, depending on the provider you have. And for Azure, directory read all, policy read all, user authentication method also read all. For GCP, you need to create the application login and copy paste the token, see here. For Kubernetes, this is important to know. For Kubernetes, you need to open your cluster to give access to Prowler, but you can open to our own public IP only, okay? That is in the documentation. It's not like, because that can be a security issue, but if you add only the security provider like Prowler, or like wherever you have Prowler running, it should work without having to open to the whole internet, the cluster, right? And if it's in the same network, you can even run Prowler from within, Kubernetes in a pod.
You guys have any like public charts for Prowler?
We do have a Helm chart. Yeah. Helm chart for Kubernetes, and also Terraform and CloudFormation for different type of deployments. Microsoft 365. That was the last important one we added, and it was tricky because the day after we launched Microsoft 365, Microsoft changed the configuration. And we had to change stuff the day after. But I mean, again, this is very helpful for a lot of people because there is a lot of customers using Microsoft 365.
So one question, we're liking what we're seeing so far with this platform, and I've never seen it before.
Nice.
And it's amazing and great that you have it available as open source. Where is your funding? How are you keeping staffed and going with this to, get up to date with?
Yeah, glad that you asked it. So the point is, Prowler is a company now beyond the project, and we have funding from Silicon Valley mostly and many other places for VCs. I mean, it's public that we have funding a very good Series C. What is the goal? Of course, as any company, to make money, but also make money through our community as well. One point of the cloud security market is that there are no big open source platforms for cloud security, and it's becoming first citizen, let's say, way of fixing. I mean, if you have money to pay for Wiz, Prisma, or all those great platforms, don't get me wrong, they are way better than Prowler because they are so all there and they have thousands of engineers. But that takes time. So there is no way, and this is our philosophy, and it's not politics. It's about access, giving access to the people to software that they need. If the only way for you to feel secure in the cloud is if you have 100K or 200K or whatever to go and buy those black boxes, that is unfair. Remember the days of Splunk and Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch did the same. It's like, okay, can we make money out of open source in a market full of closed source or black boxes? We think we do. And how can we do that? Having a great community, we have more than 300 contributors. And You can go and now that you know Prowler and you can run Prowler and you can update Prowler, you can maintain Prowler, maintain the infrastructure that you are running Prowler on, or you can come to us and pay our subscription. That is going to be, for sure, cheaper than others, but we don't want to be the cheaper option. We want to be the cost-effective option for you, if you want to. Also, we have customers with on-prem installation, this dedicated instance, Prowler dedicated instance, that is running in their own VPC, and we maintain that for them. I mean, we sell through the cloud. If you like Prowler, you put your credit card and you pay for what you scan. But also we do have MSSP. We work with MSSPs, with intelligence agencies, governments, but they have their own installation. So MSPs, they cannot work with Wiz or Palo Alto, etc., because it's very, very expensive, and that is not their business. But they come with us, and they can use Prowler or your own security practice around Prowler, and it's powered by Prowler because it's open source. People knows that it's going to find a lot of things. And actually, we have big customers that they have Orca or Wiz, and they run Prowler as well to make sure. I'm not cheating. We have seen that multiple times. Because sometimes in those platforms, you need to trust somehow, right? And you can create your own queries to their own database. But remember, Prowler is not a query to the database, only in the dashboards. But the Prowler is pulling the data straight from the API of the providers, which is different to others.
So if we're not contributing through a subscription, the best way to contribute would be through GitHub.
Yeah, exactly. Open issues, sending a pull request, or you can join our Slack and asking questions or giving us feedback. It's like, for example, we are starting the development of the Jira integration probably next week. And we have, the Epic with all this has to do this and that. But if you guys work with Jira and you want specific stuff, you can send us your use case, because that is going to help us doing that integration better. We did that for.
Is there, if it seems like
we have that all out of the box in the UI already. So see that I install multiple providers.
I'm going to skip some steps, but this is a good question for you to see. So if you come here, you go to compliance, you already have everything available for you. So let's say this is for Azure. Let me go the latest CIS. See, CIS for the latest scan of Azure. This is going to, let's see, yeah, there we go.
You don't have one for like the NIST AI RMF, right?
Do we have NIST we have NIST for, but no, yeah,
If there's not a particular compliance framework that someone would.
Oh, you can create it.
Someone would be able to create it and charge money for it, for some set of people would be sort of the aim.
Well, I mean, it's Apache license. If you want to maintain and do all that stuff by yourself, you can do it. Also, our infrastructure behind Prowler Cloud is beyond the Docker Compose. It's way more scalable. So for example, yeah, you can this NIST, MITRE ATT&CK.
Really related with AI, ISO 23,000, whatever. I don't remember now just number. It's coming too. That is a specialized. Sorry.
The 42,000, the AI one.
Yeah. It's coming to like in the next month or something like that.
So for example, to give you an idea, this is for the Spanish government. We did that ad hoc for them, but it's open source as well. For all the Spanish companies or organizations that are working with the government, they have to be ENS compliance, and we give them the whole report here, etc. Right? Or other things that we are doing. The KISA. This is for Korean government.
Actually, this was a user contribution because he wanted to do it from himself, and he also did the Korean version that you can check there.
This is in Korean, and this one is in English.
Yeah. So this is.
So if you have needs for your own language, you can do it as well. It's part of the JSON file that you have seen before. For example, and everything, remember the CSV that I mentioned before? You can download everything in a CSV mode also from here or from the API. And next week, you are going to download this in a PDF as well. So this is our own compliance framework. So in the last years, we have done a lot of compliance framework mapping. And we have realized that not all of them are comprehensive enough to be like, okay, this is my scoring. And also not all of them tells you how to do the scoring, because the scoring end up being a percentage, that's all. But in Prowler Cloud, we have, in Prowler Cloud and the local one as well, Prowler threat score that is based on weights. So for example, if you have in any compliance, you have 99%, you will think that it is all green, right? But what if that 1% is an open bucket with paychecks? You shouldn't have 99%. Actually, you should have 1% only and everything red. So this is what we have implemented in Prowler Threat Score. We have IAM covering the most important things related to authentication, authorization, and privilege escalation prevention, encryption, everything about in transit and at rest. Make sure you have all that stuff enabled. And this works for any provider that we have, Azure, etc. Attack surface. Are you exposing storage? Are you exposing network ports? Are you exposing applications like internet gateways and WAF, big misconfigurations, API gateways, all that stuff is here. See, an application, I have all that stuff well configured.
Show a requirement if you want, please.
And the point is, see, the risk level, weight, and score. So that is important when it comes to actually understanding the results. In the CIS, you don't have this. CIS is good or bad, that's all. We have added a little bit more on top of that. So
Like confidence level?
the
Like confidence low, high kind of thing?
is the
Help you make decisions?
how is the capability to explode the risk and the capability to explode that misconfiguration.
And exploitability would be kind of.
Yeah,
And it could be like the severity and how easy is to affect that.
That's it.
And that
We are based on the checks that each requirement has. For example, if the requirement has a high level check, high severity check in this case, it will be the highest risk level.
Yeah.
Same for critical elements.
So for example, let me show you here, because we have an open bucket for the demo, is storage.
In Azure?
No, no, this is Azure, yeah. I know, this is AWS,
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah.
Macy, whatever, see? But yeah, as I mentioned, all the scans that you have,
You guys working on Prowler lines. You have access to pretty much all the frameworks, if any that you want to just create them together. But you have seen so many attacks, those frameworks happening. Have you created your own like framework for more customers like they need to be at least within the specification?
that is the main reason that we created Prowler Threat Score, because, and also based on these 4 pillars, IAM, encryption, attack surface, and logging and monitoring, which is identity and access management because it's key. Encryption because it's very helpful in many cases for compliance, right? But we know in the cloud, encryption at rest is not always helpful, but it is what it is. Attack surface because it's the second most important part probably after identity and access management, and that includes identity and access management as well. And last is in the case that everything fails and you have an attack or you are in a compromised account, you need logging and monitoring enabled. So that is the most important thing in our view after many years of doing assessments, doing incident response, and all that stuff. If you have 100% of Prowler Threat Score, it's going to be hard to have a security issue. Not impossible because we know how this works, but remember we have a team of 5 people writing and detecting new issues in the internet, in the cloud, to create new checks. So last week was this Bedrock, but long ago we had also the Neptune database.
Yeah.
We created also 10 checks for that. Actually, AWS helped us to do that as well. the first checks for the prompt injection that Bedrock didn't control, we created checks for that. Also with AWS. I mean, we are partners of AWS, we do stuff together. For a new issue that came out for Azure last week, I don't remember what was that. Also, we created a new check for that straight away. So that is the good thing of also having the community, because people said, hey, guys, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And if people, or either they create the checks and they send a pull request, or they give us the idea, which is gold as well for that, right? Feedback.
Have a disclaimer saying that even though you have a scope of hardware, doesn't mean that you don't.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea, yes. I mean,
Because 0 days can happen even now, or
I mean, we don't secure any, I mean, we don't give the assurance, but talking about assurance or insurance, there are insurance companies using Prowler, that, you know, that there are, IT insurances, right? Policies, like cyber security policies, and they're using Prowler and and they are using threat score, because they thought about giving the code of what you are going to pay based on CIS, but CIS is not as comprehensive of Prowler threat score on any or others. That is being used.
the reason why I'm saying is because a lot of leaders like us scores. The more better your scores are for their leadership, so the CEOs.
Yeah.
And suddenly a score of 95, a lower score, you work towards getting 95. Then suddenly something happens, they will all bottom
Yeah.
out and they will try things.
We can add that disclaimer here. Look, you can I? Yep. This is going to be available next week, most likely to download. This is a PDF, right? PDF that you can download from Prowler Store with all the description. Everything that you may need to send to your system. Yeah, all the details. Right from the web UI or the API, okay? We are providing this only for Prowler Threat Score at the beginning, but will be also available for any compliance framework, which is very helpful. Actually, if you come here to the roadmap, it is here. See, report download in PDF.
Saw that it hurts. Two. You might bring that up. To see that.
Which one?
Yeah.
The hearing compliance. Which one? The drum?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay, let me go back here. What time is it? Okay, we have 20 minutes. All the providers, GitHub, see the scans, all that stuff is very straightforward. Let me go through the we have seen this already. Analyze the findings, all the compliance, we have seen it as well. Scan list. You can add as many providers as you want. There's no limit, okay? But if you run this locally in a Docker Compose, you may have to add 8 gigs for the backend, okay? Because if you scan a lot of things, it's going to consume memory. Everything that Prowler pulls is loaded memory, and then we put it in the disk, in the files or in the database, okay? And this is the mute list. It's exactly the same mute list that we have seen in the CLI. If you can paste it here also in the Prowler app, in the web UI, and it's going to help you a lot to remove noise. See here? The output files also, and this is the S3 integration. This was released yesterday. So you can come here to integrations, see? Amazon S3. And this is going to automate the scan exports, configure, you can configure the export path, multi-cloud, etc. So whatever you scan is not only for your AWS accounts, it's for everything. Kubernetes, Microsoft 365, everything is going to be in a bucket. And you can centralize that from there to your, let's say, Defect Dojo for Splunk, Elasticsearch. You can ship it anywhere. See, you select the provider, you can select all the providers that you have. See, if they are, this is red because it's not well configured, okay? And the security, the bucket name, and the output directory, if it's different, whatever the output directory, and that's all. More stuff, cool stuff. All the roles that you can create based on teams, accounts, etc., to give more or less permissions. Everything in Prowler has an RBAC applied, role-based access control. Okay, so the first user is the super admin or the admin, and then the next ones are going to be based on the user's invitation. You can add new user here, like TonyFlex.com, and a role. See? By default, there is only the admin role. You can create as many roles as you want. And this is an invitation. Oops, let me add me operations. And the invitation is if you have configured Prowler to send emails, it's going to send the invitation. But if not, you can copy this with the invitation token, and the person opens that in the browser and create their account. Okay? Or you can configure, of course, single sign-on. The single sign-on configuration is, where was that, Pedro? Here. When you are at the admin, you can configure the single sign-on in the admin page. Okay, very straightforward as well. If you're familiar with single sign-on, you have to upload the XML, the details, and that's all. See here. More, and this is my favorite, Lighthouse. Lighthouse AI is the Prowler bed for AI, because we are now AI-driven open cloud security. If you don't have AI, we are nobody, right? We don't exist. So in Prowler, we have multiple ways to use AI. One is to create checks. Prowler Studio create checks with that. But now with the new cloud code is amazing, and the latest LLMs of Anthropic are very good to create code. And actually, Andoni, for example, the other day created a new provider that is not released yet for MongoDB Atlas. Because we are supporting now SaaS applications as well, right? So the MongoDB Atlas, we created like 10 or 12 checks telling cloud, hey, this is the Prowler documentation. This is the developer guide. This is the repo with all the conventions of the names or how you can create that, the connector, the authentication, everything is documented in our. And this is the MongoDB Atlas documentation, the SDKs, the API access, how to configure, boom, we got it. It took a few hours, but before that, to create a new provider in Prowler, maybe a week or 2 weeks. It's developing and learning about the APIs, the access and tokens, all the stuff, right? But with cloud code, you can do that very, very fast. Other things that we are doing in Prowler is using AI to analyze results, because AI is very good for that. And we have tested multiple LLMs and AI providers. Point is, we only have GPT-4 because this is the one that works better for this use case. Of course, you can go to the repo and see our prompt, to see everything that we do behind to learn. Okay, we plan to add the capabilities to add any LLM that you want, including local LLMs, because there are companies or governments that they don't want to ship the source anyway. How this chatbot settings work? So Prowler
this is kind of an MCP. And then MCP but through our public API. Why we did this way? Because we have the rollback access controls in our API. So everything that you have access, you can pull it with AI. If you don't have access to certain accounts, Prowler Lighthouse is not going to tell you anything because it cannot pull the information. So think about Prowler, the rollback, the API, and tools. Remember, API, one tool is give me the users, give me the AWS accounts, give me the Azure subscriptions, give me the failed findings with severity critical of Azure subscriptions. All that stuff are configured in our AI, but on top of the rollback. That is key because we are talking about security data, and sometimes very critical data, right? About issues. So for example, and also you can give context to the AI. But if you come here to the Lighthouse AI section, we suggest some stuff like, hey, there are any export S3 buckets. Let's see. This shouldn't take longer, but I don't know how the internet connection is going to be. Yeah, there we go. We have that bucket. This is the remediation step, but we don't want to remediate this way. We want to make sure this is remediated as it is in Terraform, right? But so tell me how to fix this with how to prevent this to happen from AWS organization. Okay. Of course, you need a service control policy. This is how to enable AWS organization, create an SCP, and this is an example of SCP that you need to know for that. Okay, attach the SCP, etc. Okay, now give me the Terraform code for that. There we go. We get the Terraform code for all this stuff. See, and the steps on how to deploy it. Terraform init, apply, etc. See, so yeah.
So can the bot do this stuff? Can it apply at this one? Or it is going to be proposed?
No. This is a very good point. So with the AI is not ready for that. We want to, something that we have automated with Prowler AI is the cloud security analyst. Okay, beyond the practitioner, now we have an analyst. We can tell, hey, give me the most important things that I have to do now. Actually, I will show you in the overview, there is an option that is after a scan, it's going to tell you the most important thing you have to do, productivity. So to analyze results, the AI, forget about LLM models. Think only about AI in general. It's very good because it analyzes the raw data, you get that results. So that is why we call the cloud security analyst. We want to go towards the engineer, the cloud security engineer. It's not only going to detect stuff, but also to do the stuff for you. But don't trust that. I don't think any vendor can do that nowadays. Not even in production. What we can do, and we will, when we put all the infrastructure as code integration here, is to help you with hey, this is in this repo in GitHub, and this is in this line. So I'm giving create the pull request for that, right? To fix that in Terraform or CloudFormation. That is the next step that many companies are doing that already, right? That is kind of easy with AI or doable. But to do remediations and to say, yes, do it. So, we're not there. We're not there. And if there are companies that they say, yeah, we can do that with confidence, don't trust them. So we have been working with this at least 3 months or 6 months now. 6 months now.
Half a year, yeah.
Since every week there is something new. I won't tell you that it's not possible next week. But today, I wouldn't trust any AI change from. But the good thing about all what is happening in AI and in the cloud is important because AI security is cloud security. What do you do with AI? You work with data. What is the data? Most of the times in the cloud, right? You work with APIs. Where are the APIs? REST APIs. They are in cloud services. All the cloud providers, the AI providers, they have an API to interact with them, right? Even locally, if you use anything other than, for example, has an API, right? GPU, where is the GPU? You can buy GPU locally, but in most cases, you are going to use a cloud provider. Everything is cloud. So AI security is 80% is cloud security, right? Somehow, right? And now with the I don't know if you know a tool called Garak. So compared to analyze Garak.
Oh,
Right.
like it's, yeah.
That uses that it helps to assess LLMs. So we are adding Garak into cloud. We are going to be able to assess LLMs for prompt injection from all the MITRE mapping, MITRE and LLMs. It's going to be powered also probably next month. So we have on the POC already and we want to very well. So instead of adding, you will be able to add, yes, etc., but also OpenAI or whatever new for your own custom one. Okay. So as you see, with Lighthouse, we went from detecting something and getting the resource to now you get everything. You get everything you need to fix it. It's like your perfect companion. It's perfect. It's not perfect because sometimes it gets hallucinations, but it has not. Okay.
Let me see if I'm. If I'm missing something important.
Developer part.
Ah,
only.
what?
La parte de desarrollador, pero.
Yeah, the developer part is, yeah, no, we are not going to see it, but we have time for questions, comments, feedback. Since we have 10 minutes remaining.